The Galactic Council had crushed 1,000 worlds under its heel, demanded tribute from empires, and broken civilizations with a single decree. But when they came for Earth, demanding prisoners for their games of blood and power, they didn't get fear. They got Commander Kale Ray's Valoric, and a sealed crate. Inside? The heads of their own executioners, and a message carved in bone. Earth doesn't kneel. Earth repays. They said the Council's word was law. They said Earth would bow like all the others. Commander Kale Ray's Valoric had heard that before. Heard it when his battalion was left to rot on Vega 7, when his captain's pike was paraded through the halls of Celestix Prime, when the screams of his crew echoed through alien warfields like entertainment. They said Earth had no choice. Kale didn't hear choices. He heard war drums. The Council's emissary arrived with all the pomp and ceremony of an empire grown fat on its own arrogance. 3 meters tall, plated in golden flesh, the beast's voice rattled the walls of the United Earth Assembly. You will provide the tribute. 1,000 prisoners. You're strongest, you're defiant. They will serve as a lesson. Silence followed, thick, suffocating. The Assembly's eyes darted, searching for answers among cowards. Kale didn't move. He stood at the back, arms folded, the old coat heavy on his shoulders. When no one spoke, he did. No. The word didn't echo. It slammed. All heads turned. The emissary clicked its mandibles, amused. You speak human? Kale stepped forward, boots thudding like war drums. You're not getting 1,000. You'll get 1. The emissary tilted its head. 1? Kale grinned, the kind that promised pain. Me. Laughter rippled, then silence. You dare mock the Council? The emissary hissed. Kale's hand rested on the axe strapped across his back. I don't mock. I warn. The Assembly erupted. Officials shouted, begged, pleaded. Kale turned, eyes cold. Enough. You know me. You know what I've done. Let me handle this. The emissary leaned close, breath like acid. You will kneel, or Earth will burn. Kale didn't flinch. Earth doesn't kneel. Earth buries. 3 days later, the Revenant slipped into the void, engines silent, weapons primed. Kale stood alone on the bridge, his crew gone, his mind sharp. Celestix Prime loomed ahead, a rotting jewel over a dying star. Messages flooded in. Warnings. Demands. Threats. Kale deleted them all. One stood out, a private channel, encrypted. Valoric, you mad bastard! Came the voice. You really going through with this? Kale smiled. Already started. You'll never get close. I'm not aiming close. The Revenant didn't dock. It rammed. Shields flared, hulls crumpled, and Kale emerged from the wreckage like a god of old. The Council's guards came fast, armored and armed, but Kale was faster. The axe sang, slicing through flesh and steel. Hallways ran red, alarms blared, but Kale didn't stop. He moved with purpose, each step a declaration, each kill a tribute. They called him the Godhammer for a reason. At the heart of Celestix Prime, the Hall of Judgment waited. The Council sat in their thrones, cloaked in arrogance, cloaked in power. Kale kicked the doors open, dragging a sealed vessel behind him. Silence. Eyes widened, hands reached for weapons. Kale spoke first. You asked for tribute. I brought it. The vessel landed with a thud. No one moved. You have committed crimes against Earth. Kale continued. You took our people. You bled us dry. You laughed. The High Chancellor stood, voice trembling with rage. You defied the Council? Alone? Kale's grin returned. Not alone. The galaxy's watching. He kicked the vessel open. Heads rolled, alien heads, familiar, feared. The Council's own prison masters. The room recoiled, gasps and curses mixing with fear. You killed them? Someone whispered. No, Kale said. I delivered them. A screen flickered to life behind him. Footage played Kale's black vultures, striking from shadows, raising strongholds, freeing Earth's stolen. Billions watched, systems across the stars tuned in, witnessing the fall of tyrants. I found your laws, Kale said, stepping forward. Your sacred codes. I rewrote them. You're no longer rulers. You're criminals. You lie. Kale raised a hand, and Ordos, the Council's own AI, spoke. Confirmed. Council actions void. Treaty breach recorded. Retribution authorized. Panic spread. Councilors shouted, fled, fired. Kale moved like a storm. Shots missed. The axe didn't. In minutes, the Hall of Judgment became a tomb. Kale walked to the center, blood dripping from his blade. Tribute accepted, he whispered, activating his beacon. The Revenant, in orbit, responded. Celestix Prime shuddered as its gravitational anchors disengaged. The station drifted, cut loose, a relic of a fallen order. Kale didn't wait for applause. He turned, leaving chaos in his wake, his message clear. Earth doesn't kneel. Earth breaks chains. The silence after battle is the loudest sound in the galaxy. Commander Kale Reyes Valoric stood in the wreckage of Celestix Prime's outer ring, the pulse of emergency lights casting long shadows over crumpled bodies. Smoke curled around his boots, mixing with the metallic scent of alien blood. The Revenant hung just outside the fractured hull, its cannons cooling, its engines humming low, waiting for its master's command. Kale didn't look back. He never did. There was no retreat, no reconsideration. Only forward. Only war. Sector 4 breached. Came a voice over the comlink. It was a synthesized female tone, sharp, efficient. Orion, the Revenant's AI, more reliable than any flesh-and-blood officer Kale had known. Council forces regrouping near the Hall of Judgment. Let them, Kale said, adjusting the grip on his axe, the blades still dripping. They'll see me soon enough. He moved like a force of nature, tearing through the gilded corridors designed for diplomacy, not defense. The Council, in their arrogance, had never expected war to touch their sanctum. Now it choked them. Elite guards, the Cerulean wardens, rushed to stop him, blue-armored giants wielding plasma spears and energy shields. Kale didn't slow. The first thrust came high. He ducked, slammed his axe into the creature's gut, twisted, and let it fall in a heap. The second guard hesitated. Mistake. Kale stepped in, buried the axe in its neck, and kicked the body aside. Reinforcements inbound. Orion noted, almost amused. Kale grunted. Not enough. They kept coming. 248. Plasma hissed through the air, slicing into walls, burning molten scars. Kale moved like a predator, dodging, weaving, his axe singing through steel and bone. Sparks lit the hall as he disarmed one, crushed another, spun, and drove his weapon through a third. Blood splattered across the golden reliefs of past council victories, staining their history. A voice crackled over the council's own speakers, desperate, trembling. Surrender, human! You'll be shown mercy! Kale spat, stepping over the twitching body of another warden. You can't offer what you don't possess. He reached the central atrium, the last barrier before the hall. Here, the council's final defense stood waiting, the Justicar, a behemoth of metal and flesh, genetically engineered to enforce the council's will. 10 feet tall, plated in obsidian armor, it wielded a chain blade longer than Kale was tall. The Justicar roared, shaking the floor. Kale rolled his shoulders. Been waiting for something fun. The Justicar charged, the chain blade screaming. Kale sidestepped, narrowly avoiding the teeth, and slammed his axe into the creature's leg. Sparks flew, but the armor held. The Justicar spun, backhanding him across the chamber. Kale hit the wall hard, vision blurring. Pain flared, but pain was familiar. Pain was fuel. He rose, wiping blood from his lip, grinning. You hit like a counselor. The Justicar attacked again, relentless. Kale ducked under the blade, closed the distance, and drove his axe into the beast's side, leveraging his weight. The armor cracked. The Justicar bellowed, swinging wildly. Kale held on, wrenching the axe free, then drove his fist into the exposed wiring. Sparks exploded. The Justicar faltered. Kale didn't give it a second chance. He vaulted onto its back, raised the axe high, and brought it down with a roar, cleaving through metal, flesh, and circuitry. The giant collapsed. Kale stood over it, chest heaving, victorious. "Path to the hall is clear," Orion said. Kale nodded, stepping over the carcass. "Time to finish it." The doors to the Hall of Judgment loomed, untouched by the chaos beyond. Kale approached, dragging his axe, each step echoing like a death knell. With a grunt, he kicked the massive doors open, revealing the council in all their splendor and fear. 88 rulers, each from a different world, species, creed. They sat on their thrones, once confident, now silent. The High Chancellor rose, his robes pristine, his voice steady but hollow. "You come alone, human, to face judgment." Kale stepped into the chamber, eyes scanning, calculating. "Judgment? No. I came to deliver it." He tossed the sealed vessel onto the floor. It landed with a dull thud, the sound pulling every eye. "You demanded prisoners," Kale said, his voice a growl. "I brought you yours." The Chancellor sneered. "Your defiance means death." Kale chuckled, low and sharp. "For someone." He opened the vessel. The heads spilled out, grotesque trophies, council enforcers, torturers, those who had once brought pain to Earth. Gasps filled the chamber. Some councilors rose, others sat frozen. The Chancellor staggered back. "You recognize them?" Kale asked, stepping forward. "These were your hands. Now they're just meat. You will be annihilated." Another councilor shrieked. "Your world will burn." Kale raised a small device, thumb poised over the switch. "Try." The room froze. "This is linked to the Revenant's main cannon," Kale explained. "Targeting your star. Push me, and Celestix Prime becomes a drifting tomb." "You wouldn't dare." Kale smiled. "I already have." He turned the device, revealing a timer. The countdown began. "You have 1 hour. Surrender your claims on Earth. Acknowledge our sovereignty. Or burn." The Chancellor trembled. "You've condemned yourself." "No," Kale said, turning for the door. "I've freed us." The device beeped, steady, unwavering, as Kale left the hall behind him, his message delivered. The council chamber buzzed with chaos, but Commander Ko Reyes Valoric stood still, watching the ripple of fear twist the faces of those who once called themselves rulers. The heads on the floor bled slowly, soaking into the pristine silver tiles beneath their thrones. Kale's gaze swept the hall, not in search of a threat, but to enjoy the silent collapse of arrogance. They weren't just rulers now. They were prey. "You have committed a galactic crime," the High Chancellor hissed, struggling to regain authority, voice quivering under the weight of what lay before him. "Murder, sabotage, defiance against the order." Kale tilted his head, resting the battle axe across one shoulder. "Order?" His voice cut like a blade. "You call this order? You stole our people. You bled our worlds. You used Earth as your personal stockyard." The Chancellor slammed his staff against the floor. "You dare twist history?" "No." Kale stepped forward, boots leaving prints in blood. "I rewrite it." A wave of murmurs surged through the council. One of the elder councilors, scaled and ancient, leaned forward. "What do you want, human?" "We can offer you status, a place at this table." Kale's laugh was sharp, humorless. "I didn't come for a seat. I came to tear down the table." The Chancellor raised a trembling hand, but Kale cut him off. "You're already dead. You just haven't realized it." He raised the device, sleek and humming, the symbol of Ordos glowing faintly. "Recognize this? Your sacred AI. The one that holds your laws, your decrees, your power." He tossed it onto the ground. "I rewrote your codes." Gasps. A few councilors rose to protest, others whispered in horror. Kale's voice dropped, deadly calm. "Every demand you made of Earth, every decree of tribute? Invalid. Your laws now brand you as criminals. Your power's gone. Your allies?" He gestured broadly. "They watch this. They won't stand by you." The Chancellor's face contorted. You lie! Ordos cannot be tampered with. Kale's grin returned, savage and knowing. You've never faced someone like me. Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered, then dimmed. A deep voice echoed, synthesized, cold. This is Ordos. Verification complete. Council authority revoked. Crimes against Earth confirmed. Penalties pending. Panic surged. Counselors shouted, some rushing to the exits. Guards stepped forward, confused, caught between instinct and orders that no longer existed. Kale didn't move. I didn't come to negotiate. I came to collect. A younger counselor, eyes wide with fear, pointed a shaking finger. You've doomed us all. The galaxy will descend into chaos. Kale nodded slowly. Good. The Chancellor stumbled back toward his throne. You'll be hunted. Your world destroyed. Kale walked up the steps, towering over him. You had your chance. All of you. You thought we'd beg. You thought you could break us. But we don't break. We don't kneel. And we sure as hell don't forget. He pressed a button on his gauntlet. A low hum filled the chamber. The Revenant's main cannon, locked onto the Council's star, began its charge. The Chancellor collapsed to his knees. Please! Kale leaned in, eyes burning. You want a tribute? This is ours. The countdown ticked in the background, an unrelenting beat. Counselors scrambled, pleaded, fought among themselves. Kale watched, unmoved, a statue of vengeance carved from war itself. One last counselor, cloaked in violet, approached cautiously. Stop this. Take Earth's freedom, take vengeance, but leave the galaxy. Don't burn it all. Kale looked at him, and for a moment, there was silence. I didn't start this fire, Kale said. I'm just making sure it finishes what it began. The chamber shook. Outside, Celestix Prime's orbit destabilized, alarms howling through every corridor. Kale turned, descending the steps slowly. Behind him, the council crumbled, some fighting to escape, others too stunned to move. The Hall of Judgment became a tomb, a place where power died and fear was born. Orion's voice crackled through his earpiece. Revenants ready. Star alignment in 20 seconds. Kale spoke softly, more to himself than anyone else. Let them remember this. He reached the door, pausing, glancing back once. You ruled by fear. Now live by it. He stepped into the shadows as the chamber doors sealed behind him, locking in screams, pleas, and the death of an empire. The Revenant's engines roared as Celestix Prime drifted, its artificial gravity faltering with every tremor. Kale Ray's Valoric stood on the bridge, the lights of the dying star casting long streaks of gold across the cracked panels. Orion's voice cut through the noise, steady and cold. Primary cannon at 70%. Star destabilization in process. Kale's grip tightened around the rail. Hold at 95. No sooner. Acknowledged. Below him, the council clawed at survival, scrambling to seal off the fractures that riddled their once impervious sanctuary. Messages flooded the comms, threats, offers, desperate pleas, but Kale silenced them with a gesture. There was no bargaining now. There was only the final act. Orion, open channel, he said, his voice a quiet storm. To whom? Everyone. The galaxy would see. A hollow display flickered to life, the faces of worlds, species, empires, the ruled and the rulers alike, staring in stunned silence. Kale's face filled the screen, blood streaked across his cheek, eyes like stone. This is Commander Kale Ray's Valoric of Earth, he began. You've all seen what they've done. To us. To you. To every world they chained. You've watched, waited, and hoped for mercy that never came. A pause, long enough for the weight of it to settle. They asked for tribute. They got justice. He stepped aside, revealing the feed from inside the Hall of Judgment. The bodies. The blood. The thrones cracked and abandoned. A gasp rippled across the galaxy, but Kale pressed on. Today, the Council falls. Not by fleets, not by treaties, but by truth, and by force. You don't negotiate with slavers. You end them. Orion's voice returned. Primary cannon at 85%. Kale turned back to the stars. Good. A voice broke through the static, strained and desperate. The High Chancellor. Kale. Stop this. You've made your point. Kale didn't respond. We can rebuild. Together. We can create peace. Kale's eyes narrowed. You want peace now? After centuries of war? After enslaving billions? We can change. No. You can die. The calm cut. Orion spoke. 90%. Kale breathed in, the weight of years pressing on his chest. He remembered Vega 7, the screams, the fire. He remembered Earth's skies, blackened by warships. He remembered silence, forced and final. This was for them. Status on the drift? He asked. Celestix Prime is entering the outer field. Stabilizers failing. Time to freefall? 5 minutes. Kale nodded. Bring us around. I want them to see it coming. The Revenant turned, its shadow stretching over the crippled station. Below, escape pods launched, scattering like insects, but it didn't matter. The Council was broken, their power shattered. Orion's tone shifted, almost curious. Do you intend to fire, Commander? Kale stared at the display, at the blinking indicator that marked the heart of the Council's star. One strike, and it would collapse, taking Celestix Prime, and the last remnants of their empire, with it. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he opened a private channel. Revenant to Earth Command. Static, then a voice, old and familiar. Kale? It's done. Almost. You're in position? Yes. The voice hesitated. Do it. End them. Kale's jaw clenched. He knew. But it wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about what came next. Orion, he said, voice low. Lock primary cannon. Disable auto fire. Confirmed. Manual override engaged. He turned back to the calm. Let the galaxy watch. Let them know we don't burn planets, we burn tyrants. The Revenant held position, its cannon glowing with restrained power. Kale opened the broadcast once more. The Council is no more. Celestix Prime is yours to judge. He stepped away, the feed ending, silence replacing it. Orion spoke again. Commander? Kale sat, for the first time in hours. Let them fall on their own. Outside, Celestix Prime drifted further, past the point of no return. Without the star's gravity, it would wander into the void, a monument to failure, a warning to every would-be ruler. Kale watched as the lights faded, one by one. No chains, he said softly. No masters. The stars looked different now. Celestix Prime, once the shining heart of galactic dominance, was gone from its throne in the void, cast adrift beyond the reach of power. Kale Ray's Valoric stood alone on the deck of the Revenant, eyes locked on the distant remnants of a crumbling empire. Silence had returned, but it wasn't peace, it was the hush before something new, something dangerous. The kind of quiet that demanded attention. Orion, Kale said, voice roughened by war but steady. Broadcast one final message. To whom? The AI responded. To all of them. The hollow feed opened again, but now there were no panicked counselors or trembling tyrants. Now there were billions. Soldiers in trenches, slaves in chains, leaders watching with bated breath. All eyes on him. You've seen what we've done. Kale began, not pacing, not shouting, just speaking. Calm. Deadly calm. The Council ruled through fear, through lies, through blood. They demanded tribute from Earth. They got the heads of their own. He let that settle, let them feel the weight of it. This isn't the end. It's the beginning. A low murmur spread across the networks, picked up even in the silence. For too long, you've waited for change. For too long, you've hoped someone else would fight. The Council is gone. What comes next? He leaned in slightly. That's up to you. A pause. Then he spoke the words that would etch themselves into history. Earth doesn't kneel. We don't forget. We don't forgive. If you come for us, we won't come with treaties. We'll come with fire. He cut the feed. That was enough. Orion, status on the escapees? He asked. Scattered across sectors. Council remnants attempting to regroup, but they lack structure. Several systems declaring independence. Kale nodded slowly. Let them run. Let them remember. He turned from the view, walking the length of the bridge, past the battered command consoles and flickering displays. Every step felt heavier now, not from the battle, but from what he'd started. The council was gone, but power never vanished, it only shifted hands. A transmission blinked on the screen. Not from the council. From Earth. Valoric, this is Earth Command. We've received your broadcast. Reports from across the systems confirm Celestix Prime has left its orbital path. Council control is collapsing. You did it. Kale stared at the message, his face unreadable. What do you want us to do, Kale? The voice asked. What's our next move? He closed his eyes for a moment, the names of the dead echoing behind them. His crew. His people. All of them lost to the greed of those now fleeing like rats into the dark. Our next move? Kale repeated, more to himself than anyone else. Then his eyes snapped open, sharp as ever. We don't wait. We build. We watch. And we make damn sure no one forgets why this happened. The voice over the comm hesitated. Are you coming back? Kale looked out at the stars again. Not yet. Where will you go? Where they're still afraid. He cut the line. Orion, ever patient, spoke again. Course plotted to outer sectors. Council loyalists attempting to regroup. Shall we pursue? Kale considered, then gave a small nod. We're not done yet. The Revenant's engines flared, pushing the ship forward into the unknown. Behind it, the ruins of an empire drifted silently, lost to the void, a relic of arrogance and failure. Kale stood steady, certain. Let the galaxy rebuild. Let them fight over scraps. He wasn't here to rule. He was here to remind them that fear could change hands. That the meek could rise with teeth bared. That no throne was ever safe again. He gripped the rail as the stars shifted, his voice low, the words meant only for himself. They wanted tribute. Now they'll pay. And with that, the Godhammer vanished into the dark, a shadow cast by humanity's rage, a legend born not from hope, but from fire.